Hi, friends. Have you ever had a time when you tried to make a joke or you approached a really handsome guy and you approached them, but your approach just fell flat and he just looked at you like, What? What are you talking about? And you probably felt embarrassed, you were ashamed, and you were thinking to yourself, what was I thinking? Well, we're going to talk about that question, but we're going to learn how to change one word, just one word, so that you can boost your energy level and bring down that stress. And we're going to do that in just a moment. Hi, friends. I'm Marcelin Bailey, and you are inside of Stress Talk with Marcelin. I'm having real talk, stress talk conversations with working women like you and me who are tired of feeling burned out and overwhelmed with stress. I believe that there is a better way to manage our stress levels than relying on quick fixes that only give us temporary relief. And that's what we're doing here at Stress Talk. We're talking about ways in which you can create a stress management plan by recognizing the underlying and hidden causes of your stress and developing that plan in a way that it fits you and fits into your lifestyle. Today, we're talking about the question, what are you thinking? I know I did this to get you excited because when we ask that question, it's always with some type of emphasis. We don't say, now what were you thinking? Well, sometimes I do. In my practice, sometimes when I'm sitting with a client, I'll say, so what do you think about that? Or, well, tell me, what are some of your thoughts about that? But when we're in the real world, we ask that question with a lot of emphasis. Imagine, did you have a child who stuffed peas up their nose? My children never did that. Thank God they never did that. But I do have friends whose children stuck peas, green peas, a little bitty green peas. They stuck them up their nose. And the first question out of their mouths was, what were you thinking? And when they shared it with me, my first question was, what were they thinking? I mean, we ask that question quite often, and we ask it in relation to situations that make us surprised. Like, what were you thinking? Have you had a teenager who got stopped and because they had a ticket? I never did. I never did, y'all. My kids, my daughters never got tickets when they were driving. They better not. Scared the heck out of them. You better drive the speed limit and watch what you're doing. Anyway, but did you ever have a child who did get a speeding ticket or got a ticket because they weren't minding the rules of the road? What was the question you asked? What were you thinking? Right? Well, that question is, when we ask it, depending on the context or the situation, is riddled with guilt and shame. When we ask that question, it makes people think, I did something really bad. I wasn't doing what I was supposed to, and there's shame that's attached to it, right? We feel bad about ourselves when we're asked that question in that way. What were you thinking? I mean, you could say it with the emphasis on the first word. What were you thinking? Or you could say, what were you thinking? Or just, what were you thinking? There's so much in that question that causes us to feel bad about ourselves. Oftentimes, when we're asked that question, we're thinking not only did we make a mistake, but we let someone down. We hurt someone. We not only did bad things, but maybe we're bad people. Now, imagine asking yourself that question. I used in the intro, I used the example of going up to a handsome guy, like when I was in my 20s, would go up to a handsome guy and say something. And if the guy looked at me and kind of said, what? Or looked at me like, why are you talking to me? Then that made me feel embarrassed. I was embarrassed because I took that chance, or I felt ashamed because at that point, I was having to explain myself. So, have you been in situations like that? Maybe you've told a joke that fell flat. Maybe you were trying to explain something at work and people were looking at you like, what are you talking about? But there's shame, there's guilt attached to that question, depending on the situation and the context in which it's asked, as well as the tone and inflection in which it's asked. So you're saying to me, well, Marcy, what does that have to do with anything that we've been discussing? We've been talking about thoughts and how our thoughts increase our stress levels and impact how we feel about ourselves. And so we want to be aware of how our thoughts, first of all, and how they influence the way we feel. And so we're going to talk about that today. And I'm going to talk about how you can change that one word, that one word, so that when you ask yourself that question, it is not going to cause you to feel bad about yourself. It is going to boost your energy eventually, but it's definitely going to dial down the stress. So let's pull up the screen here. So give me a moment to just get my screen pulled up. There we go. We're almost there. Boom. Now you can see that. Hopefully you can see my screen that says automatic negative thoughts. So automatic negative thoughts are okay, there we go. Automatic negative thoughts are those thoughts that come into our head quickly. I don't want to call it passing thoughts, but they are like passing thoughts. You know how you can think something, it's like in your brain and then all of a sudden it's gone? That's basically what automatic negative thoughts are. They're thoughts that come into your head so fast that you cannot get a grasp of what it is or what you're thinking. The thing about automatic negative thoughts is that because they are so quick, we barely notice them. And oftentimes, when they are habits that we're thinking out of habit, we rarely notice those as well. And because we rarely notice them, the first opportunity or the first knowledge that we have that we've had an automatic thought is how we feel or our mood. Because an automatic negative thought is going to impact or influence how we're feeling. It's going to influence our mood. And so the only way we know we've had a thought is based on how we're feeling at the time. But the thing about the automatic negative thoughts, as I said before, is they happen so quickly. They move into our brain and out of our brain so quickly, we may not even notice them. So we only know that we've had an automatic negative thought when our mood is at the extreme. We can be extremely happy, or we can be extremely angry or in a bad mood, a really pissy mood, right? So when the thought is negative, our mood is going to extend towards the negative. So that is a way that we know that we've had an automatic negative thought. We also know that we have an automatic negative thought when we have a strong feeling about something, right? When our feeling all of a sudden goes to an extreme. We have extreme or a strong feeling of anger, a strong feeling of sadness, but there's a strong feeling that we're experiencing. If we have a very strong feeling, then there is an automatic negative thought attached to that feeling. The other way that we know that we've had an automatic negative thought is if we have a very strong reaction. And this could be a physical reaction, or it could be an emotional reaction. For example, if it's a physical reaction, we may have a headache all of a sudden, or we may feel our heart pounding in our chest all of a sudden. But there is a physical reaction that we recognize that isn't caused by anything in particular, right? You didn't just eat ice cream real fast and get a brain freeze. You didn't do anything different, but there was a thought that caused you to have that headache. Also, if it's an emotional reaction, you may start crying, but you don't know why you're crying. How many times has that happened? You're crying, but you don't know why. You've just, all of a sudden, you've become overwhelmed or overcome with an emotion, but nothing happened in particular. You weren't told you won the lottery. You weren't told that a boulder just fell on your car. You just had a thought that you did not remember. So, what are some of the questions, or what are some of the ways that you know you've had an automatic negative thought? Well, look at your mood. What is your mood at the moment? Has it gone from being happy to sad? Has it gone from being upbeat to depressed? Are you suddenly irritated and feeling irritable? Are you all of a sudden feeling nervous? Are you feeling restless? Has your mood changed in a way that's obvious and noticeable to you when nothing has changed in your environment or in your condition? Another thing to look at is, what are you feeling? Have you gone from feeling optimistic to hopeless? Are you suddenly feeling helpless, like you're not sure what to do or how to do it? Are you sitting at your desk and all of a sudden you're feeling overwhelmed? Do you feel anxious? Nothing has changed, but do you feel anxious? And then last, how are you reacting? Did your heart start beating faster and is it pounding in your chest? Did your mouth become dry? Are you suddenly having trouble thinking? Are you distracted? Are you having trouble concentrating on your work or on the task that's in front of you? So you know that you've had an automatic negative thought when nothing has changed necessarily, but you find that you're having some type of reaction, you're having a feeling that is different, or you feel different, or your mood has changed. When you notice these things, that your mood has changed, that you're feeling differently, or that you have reacted to something that is not noticeable to you, like it's not in front of you. Your boss didn't come and put a pile of work on your desk, or like I said, no one told you that a boulder fell on your car. You want to ask yourself, what am I thinking? What are you thinking? The question that I asked when we started our live stream was, what were you thinking? It was in the past, right? The question that you will ask now is, what am I thinking? What am I thinking? You're bringing the question to the present. I could say to you, what are you thinking? That's one word that you're changing. You're changing were to are. You're changing was to am. What am I thinking? When you're able to ask yourself this question, when you notice a change in your mood, how you feel, or you have an extreme reaction, whether it is physical or emotional, you can then begin to become curious about the content of your thoughts as well as the nature of your thoughts. What am I thinking leads you to just extend some curiosity. And remember, curiosity is a word that's used in mindfulness, but you extend curiosity to those thoughts. You don't necessarily try to change them. You don't try to alter them. You are just extending curiosity. What am I thinking? What am I thinking right now? When you ask yourself that question, again, you will open the door to become aware of the content of your thoughts as well as the nature of those thoughts. Also, you're able to then think about how those thoughts make you feel. And again, it's extending curiosity. You're not trying necessarily to change the feeling. You're just becoming curious about those feelings. What am I thinking that causes me to feel this way? It allows you to name the feelings as well as to describe the feelings. Once you're able to do that, you then begin to look at the evidence. And you can ask, is what I am thinking true? Is what I am thinking false? Do I have enough information to determine whether what I am thinking is true or false. Again, you're extending curiosity. You're not trying to change your thoughts, and you're not trying to change your feelings. You are asking the questions in order to understand. Once you've determined whether there is evidence that causes what you think to be true or evidence to the contrary, then you can take the next step, which is, what steps can I take? If this is true, what steps can I take? Do I need to get more information? Should I go on a fact-finding quest? Or do I have enough information to solve the problem that I'm concerned about? Part of what makes us anxious, part of what makes our stress levels go up and increase is that we have these automatic negative thoughts, and they cause a feeling which begins to use a lot of energy. We expend energy when we're in a negative mood or we're feeling negative. We expend energy. And by becoming curious and asking questions in the present, we can then lower our stress levels and boost our energy. So the question changes from what were you thinking to what are you thinking? And you will ask yourself, what am I thinking? So let me give you some additional questions to ask in order to become more curious about your automatic negative thoughts and to get to a place where you can get more information, fact finding, or do problem solving. And these questions were adapted from Mind Over Mood, which is a workbook by Dennis Greenberger and Christine A. Podesky. Definitely want to give them credit for their wonderful, wonderful work. So once you go through the process that I delivered to you just a few moments ago, ask yourself, what am I thinking? That way you will get an idea of the content of your thoughts as well as the nature of your thoughts. And then you're going to ask yourself, how do those thoughts make me feel? You can name the feelings and describe the feelings. And then, where's the evidence? Greenberger and Podesky added to that basic list. And they said, basically, to ask yourself, what was I thinking before I started feeling this way? Before I started feeling sad, what was I thinking? And again, just extend your curiosity. What was I thinking before I started feeling this way? And then ask yourself, is this thought true? Is this thought true? If it is true, what does this say about me? That is a very, very key question to ask, because that is where the fear, the anxiety, the concern lies. If my thought was true, what does this say about me? Not only that, what do I believe this means for me, my life, or my future? What am I afraid might happen? And what is the worst thing that could happen? These are questions that we can use to problem solve. These are also questions that allow us to gain more facts, not to prove or disprove what we were thinking, but to allow us to position ourselves so that we can then work to solve the problem or the concern, as opposed to holding on to it and allowing our thoughts to influence our mood in a negative way. What do I believe this means for me, my life, and my future? And what am I afraid might happen? And what is the worst thing that could happen? These are all questions that you can ask related to learning more about the automatic negative thoughts that have influenced your mood, your feeling, and your reactions. So let's go back to our, let's see. I'm sorry about that, guys. I don't know what I'm doing here. Okay, let's do that. Okay, let's see. I don't know what I'm doing. I've got to share it. Let's okay. Boom. Oops. I know that was funky, wasn't it? I'm sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. My buttons weren't working. My buttons didn't work. They just stopped working. So, see, now I could say to myself, what was I thinking? Right? But, I just figure these things happen. And I have enough gray hair in my head to have an excuse. Okay, that might not be an excuse, but you know what? I still have to ask my daughters how I do certain things. Anyway, okay, back on subject. So, our automatic negative thoughts are very important, especially when it comes to stress levels, because we have these thoughts that go zoop, zoop, right into our brain and out, and we don't even notice it. But we do notice how we feel, we notice a change in our mood, and we notice our reactions to things. And it's caused by what we're thinking. When we can become more aware of our automatic thoughts, especially our automatic negative thoughts, then we in turn can make adjustments so that we don't have the extreme moods, we don't have the extreme feelings, we don't have the extreme reactions, and we can keep our stress levels down and manageable. Because remember, when our stress levels are high and when we're feeling overwhelmed, it uses a lot of energy. And we want to make sure we have enough energy to take care of ourselves, take care of our families, to enjoy our lives as we want to enjoy them. So, that one word that we can change that will lower our stress levels, boost our energy, especially when it comes to the question, what were you thinking? Is, what am I thinking? What am I thinking right now? What was I thinking before my mood changed? What am I thinking? Well, that's it for now. I hope this was helpful to you. It's always helpful to me when I talk about these things. I hope it will help you as well. I want to share with you that you definitely want to join us on April 11th. On April 11th, I have a special guest coming to join us. We're having a conversation about thoughts and how our thoughts influence our stress levels. A very dear friend of mine is coming. Her name is Franette Mock, and she is a licensed professional clinical counselor in the state of Ohio. She is also a registered, thank you. She's also a registered art therapist. Franette and I grew up together. She has my heart, and she is a skilled clinician. So she's going to come on April 11th, and she's going to share her wisdom as well as her experience with all of us. And I'm excited that she's going to be here. And you'll hear some more about that and more about her in our next episodes. So that's it. I'm glad you joined me today. As always, I appreciate you, and we'll see you next time. Oh, and like I've always said, take good care.